What is up guys and welcome back to my channel. My name is Noman and today's analysis video is going to be about the Premier League game between Chelsea and Leeds United. So Chelsea lined up in a 4-3-3 formation which mostly changed to 4-5-1 without possession. While Leeds United on the other hand lined up in a 4-4-1-1 formation which mostly changed to a back 5 without possession. So this is how the two teams were lined up on the ground. Chelsea's 4-3-3 against Leeds United's 4-4-1-1 formation. Leeds United did not try to press Chelsea high up the ground. They mostly tried to settle in a mid-block of 4-4-1-1 and they went with a man-to-man strategy. Patrick Bamford was pressing the centre-back on the ball, with Klich covering N'Golo Kante. Phillips and Dallas were covering the two Chelsea number 8s, Kai Havertz and Mason Mount. And Harrison and Rafinha were covering the two Chelsea fullbacks. This way one of the Chelsea centre-backs was always free to receive the ball with time and space, but their forward passing options were mostly blocked. Here we can see Leeds implementing a man-to-man marking. Bamford is pressing Zuma with Harrison and Phillips covering Reece James and Kante. Klich and Dallas are covering Kai Havertz and Mason Mount. No forward passing options are available, so Reece James is forced to go back to Thiago Silva. Thiago Silva plays the ball to Mason Mount and Leeds United once again repeat the same pressing pattern. Dallas on Mason Mount, Klich on Kante and Bamford moves to press Silva. Mason Mount again forced to go back as the forward passing options were blocked. N'Golo Kante moves wide and he forced Klich to step wide to open the passing lane for Thiago Silva to pick Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz receives the ball from Thiago Silva, but he is immediately pressed by Phillips. Kai Havertz has no space to turn with the ball and he is once again forced to go back due to that tight man marking of Leeds United. But as the game progressed, Chelsea were able to use that man-to-man marking and the free centre-back to build their play with ease. Kai Havertz plays the ball to Zuma and he makes a forward run and he takes away Phillips. Kante is keeping Klich busy and Reece James takes away Harrison. So Zuma is now free to step out with the ball. Kai Havertz takes away Phillips, N'Golo Kante takes away Klich and Reece James takes away Harrison. So Zuma is now totally free to step out with the ball. Chelsea tried to use the man-to-man marking to create space for Zuma's run. And now Phillips is forced to leave Kai Havertz alone and press Zuma. And Zuma can now easily pick Kai Havertz, who is free from the marking. Phillips was taken out by Zuma and Kai Havertz is now totally free to run with the ball. Kurt Zouma and Thiago Silva were often able to step out with the ball to help Chelsea during the build-up phase. Mason Mount and Kai Havertz often used that tight man marking to drag their markers out of their positions to open spaces for Timo Werner and Hakim Ziyech to drop deep and directly receive the ball from their centre-backs. Mason Mount joins the front line and he takes away Dallas, and that opens the space in the midfield for Timo Werner to drop deep and receive the ball directly from his centre-back. This time Pulisic drops deep to receive the ball in the space that was created by Mason Mount by dragging Dallas out of his position. And this is why if we try to look at the average player positions from yesterday's game, we can see that Mason Mount was constantly joining the front line as he was trying to drag the midfielder out of his position to open the space in the midfield for Chelsea to build their play. And the third technique that Chelsea tried to use to build their play was the use of Giroud as the target man. Giroud working as the target man to win the first ball and laying it off in the path of Timo Werner. I made a video on Zuma 2 days ago, and in that video I spoke about the higher positions of the Chelsea fullbacks and how it often leaves the wide areas totally open on transitions. Let's try and watch the part from Zuma's analysis video to understand what actually went wrong for Chelsea for Leeds United's first goal. Chelsea's fullbacks are a big part of their offensive play. Frank Lampard wants his fullbacks to move up and help the team during the offensive phase. The higher position of the fullbacks means that there are spaces available on the wide areas on transitions, and this is where Kurt Zouma and Thiago Silva come into play. Kurt Zouma has the pace to step out to cover the wide areas on transitions to help his fullbacks. Chelsea lose possession, Reece James is caught out of his position, and Rennes now have the chance to catch Chelsea on transition. Most of the times, the striker usually attacks that wide space, as we saw in the last example. But in Leeds' case, Bamford did not attack that wide area. Bamford tried to hold his central position, which forced Zuma to stay to the central area. Because if Zuma steps out to cover Phillips, he could leave Bamford in a 1v1 position against Thiago Silva. So Zuma did not step out to clear the ball, and Kai Havertz also failed to track Phillips, which gave Phillips the time and space to play an inch-perfect pass to Bamford. Reece James is caught out of his position, and Kai Havertz fails to track the run of Phillips. Kai Havertz could not track the run of Phillips, and Bamford is holding his central position, which forced Zuma to stay central and not clear the ball, and Phillips does the rest. Mendy initially steps out, but then he takes a step back, as he probably thought that Zuma would clear the ball, and thus Mendy ended up in no man's land. And this brings us to the defensive performance of the Chelsea midfielders. Mason Mount and Kai Havertz were not tracking the runs of the Leeds players in the first half, and that created loads of issues for Chelsea's defense. Leeds United attacked more like Manchester City. Their wingers dragged the opposition fullbacks out of their positions to open the gaps in the half space for the runs of their midfielders and the fullbacks, as the fullbacks mostly make underlaps than the overlaps. Rafinha is forcing Ben Chilwell to step out, and Klich is forcing N'Golo Kante to step out, and this has opened a gap in the half space for the run of Dallas, as Mason Mount fails to track the run of Dallas. Here again, Klich and Rafinha are forcing N'Golo Kante and Ben Chilwell to step out, and this time Ayling makes an underlap to attack the half space, and again no one follows his run. Ayling receives the ball from Klich, and he pulls Thiago Silva out of his position, and Klich immediately makes himself available for the cutback. This time Reece James steps out to cover Harrison, and Klich is totally free to attack the half space, as no one tracks his run. Here again, Reece James is left in a 1v2 position, and no one is helping Reece James against the Leeds overload. I made a video on Chelsea's set-piece routine a few weeks ago, and in that video, we saw how Zuma blocks the opponents to help his teammates get free headers. This is from the game against Sheffield United, when Kurt Zuma never even looked at the ball, and he was only focused on blocking Stevens and Evans to give a free run to Thiago Silva. And Chelsea did the same thing yesterday as well. Kurt Zuma once again blocks Llorente and Cooper to give a free run to Giroud, who should have scored the goal. And when Zuma scored the goal, it was actually Giroud who did the job of blocking Llorente and Cooper to give a free header to Kurt Zuma. Chelsea scored 3 goals in this game, but they definitely had the chances to score at least 5 goals, as suggested by their XG of 4.89. Thank you so much guys for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.